We're going to dive into tokenomics a little bit. Tokenomics, good or bad, they can make or break a new project because this is something which it's very, very thoughtful.
How we think about this was if you use Coinbase Exchange or Jupiter Exchange, how those companies make money, so small fees per transaction. We thought about it the same way here. If all you're doing all day is hoarding UPT tokens, but you don't actually do anything useful with them, you don't spend them, stake them, redeem them for deals, pay for your phone bill, you don't do any actual transaction, then the team, we failed as a product.
So B2C, so business to customer, anyone that's actually using Uprock on their phone, you are the customer, take the 1,000 UPT and we're going to go and buy a month's worth of gigabytes from Vodafone for your mobile phone. Uprock can work is because they can form these big partnerships with lots of big brands as they can potentially even get these things at a discount.
If we go to them and we buy a big old bundle of gigabytes of data and we give it to people, so we're going to take out the cost of the goods and then what's left over, we're not going to put all of that in our pocket. We're going to split it in half. Half of it's going to go to the company to pay our salaries and everything else. Half of it gets burned. And that's going to reduce the overall supply of UPT.
So what's going to happen with this other section here?
The fundamental concept here is that we want to have a deflationary mechanism to help stabilize and keep up the price of UPT. However, sometimes we're going to get revenue. So when users redeem UPT for airtime minutes, that's great. That's super simple. We just burn it. Done. But sometimes we're going to get revenue that's not in the form of UPT. For instance, if we're planning to integrate a simple system using Jupiter to make it easy to swap between UPT and other tokens. When that happens, we'll get some fees from that in the form of other tokens, maybe USDC or SOL or USDT, whatever the token happens to be. In that case, we can't burn it directly because that would just be burning somebody else's token. That wouldn't be very useful. So first, we turn it into UPT. And then we burn it. But we only do that with half because here's the thing. It's important to burn some to help reduce the supply over time, but it's also really in the best interest of everybody in the community to have as much liquidity as possible.
And then just take us quickly through the business to business customers. I know you mentioned as an example, you talked about Koi and DATS. Sometimes they will give you their token because of partnership agreements. So that would be a revenue stream. How does that work?
Yeah, so the B2B is a similar concept, except a large chunk of the liquidity for the miners is from the data business, from selling the bandwidth and the compute. That's why a big chunk, 40%, is actually going to the on-chain buyback mechanism that provides liquidity for people who are installing the apps, earning the token, etc. And then, as just Chris said here, we always want to beef up our liquidity pools. So 20% of revenue from the data business will go to beefing up the liquidity pools. And then a big chunk of the revenue from the data is going to pay for the company's salaries and ongoing marketing, sales, taxes, legal, etc. That's 40% there. That community pool, like I said, is 50% of the community will earn the token over time. That's not just from installing the apps, but also it's a referral program pays for this, developer bounties. Half of that community pool will be earned over a course of 10 years. We have very long-term thinking here. And eventually, of course, we want that community pool to go down to zero. We want everyone to be earning it. Because again, the whole point of DePIN is to bootstrap with tokens, and eventually it should flip so that all the transaction revenue from the B2C side and the B2B side is what provides liquidity for the network, for the community.
I hope that clears that up for everybody. Thanks very much.